Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're looking at Destro's Despoiler. Destro's Despoiler was first released in 1988. It included Destro version 2, so this is where we get the gold version of Destro. The Despoiler was also available in '89 and unfortunately was discontinued in 1990. So we get a nice look at Destro here in his gold kind of redone mask. Uh, So he has his version 2 iconic look, which I'd always kind of wondered where that came from. I have to admit, at this point, I wasn't collecting so many G.I. Joes at the time, being a high schooler at that point myself, and having other things to worry about. So, uh, it's just one of those things I kind of picked up later on and was kind of trying to figure out where some of this stuff had come from. And of course, he came exclusively with the Destro Despoiler. So, if you didn't pick him up with this, then you never really got to see him except for in some of the other cartoons or whatever that came out later. All right, so we do have on yojo.com a nice front view. You get a good look at the cannons in the front as well as our missile launchers. The rear view with our engines here. All right, and then we get some side views here. So you get to see how everything kind of looks as it's all put together. Top view where Destro's going to sit in his, in a lot of regards, this kind of seems like Destro's version of his own personal air chariot. So that's kind of how I've kind of done the stats for this when we bring this into our role playing game. And it's nice to see this. This is really the first time I'm being exposed to it myself. So, kind of taking a good look at it. And like I said, to me, this seems like it is an air chariot for Destro himself. We've seen a little bit of this form in Serpentor's chariot, with the bat wings and all that stuff. And this is meant to dock onto um, what was his Dominator? I think that's what it was yesterday. So, or not yesterday, the other day. Uh, okay, so the missiles and guns, unfortunately, are something that can be easily lost. So, something to kind of keep an eye out for. If you have it, please try and keep them together. And we get to see this in trading cards, comic books, and TV commercials. Here we have Destro himself on his Dominator here. And of course, it was in one of the video games. It looks like Snake Eyes is trying to fight Destro here. So, and of course, here's our commercial spot. So, like I said, I mean, this is something I never really saw much of. But I admit I was kind of getting a little older. My focuses were a little different. I spent a little less time doing G.I. Joe, more time doing role playing games. Actually, at this point, I think we spent a lot of time doing a game called Battletech. So, um, big robots and stuff like that. For those that know, it is a fun and wonderful game. Um, and we spent a lot of time playing around with it. So Destro's Despoiler was released with two color variants. To its gold parts, the color reminiscent to bronze, gold, and a more metallic gold, similar to a Serpentor's Air Chariot. Neither variation seems harder to find than the other. Vehicle construction, the vehicle mold was repainted or repulled for, well, nope, that was the only time it was ever used. Now, internationally released, Estrelli Toys released the Vibora in Brazil. So we have the Vibora vehicle individual. I can't. I'm not good with Spanish, so I know that's going to be vehicle individual. So individual vehicle. I can't. The bat maybe. somebody that understands Spanish and can read it and can tell me later on in the comments. And it's always great when people point things out that I just happen to miss. Um, it's just some of those things. I don't. I will never say I am the gatekeeper of knowing everything. There's a lot of things that because you get into a franchise and then, like I said, I'm growing up and then I kind of move away and I come back, and things like that happen from time to time. It's not that I don't like these franchises. I love the franchises. It's just that I get other things that steer me away, and then I always come back to them. So uh, it's just the way the life goes. So um, the other fun thing is at the time this was $4.49. So not too bad. Okay, so as we bring this into our role playing game sense here, so we have Destro's Despoiler. This is going to be at speed or scale. We're going to have a length of 10 feet, crew of one, no passengers, because this is his air chariot itself. I'm keeping the cargo capacity at about 44 pounds. I don't know what kind of gear he might want to keep on him, but I'm sure if it's his personal little vehicle, he'd want something so he can carry whatever device he's trying to work on. So we'll give it one half coverage. Altitude, I fear anywhere from a meter to about like a kilometer up. Um, I think that's going to be a little on the high side, but the fit in with the cartoon and however things always seem to go, where even Serpentor's air chariot, where typically something like this you would say might go like just a meter or two off the ground, suddenly will be like a couple 100 meters off the ground or something like that. Um, just trying to keep it in the sense of where it might possibly go. Okay, we have a maneuverability of 2D plus 2. I kept the speed kind of high. Not that it really needed it in some regards. I feared that way if Destro ever really needed to flee, he has that ability to flee and just kind of go off on that. As G.I. Joe usually seems to somehow turn the tide and foil Destro and Cobra's plans. If I can leave that a little high, then he can always skedaddle out of there. Body strength is going to be about a 2D. Um, Being more of an air chariot with all the other things on here, I think it's going to be a little less armored than some of the other things. Um, Going from there. Now we have two missiles. They're in the front. Fire control. Actually, I think I was going to drop the fire control down, but we'll leave it. I have it here, so why not? So we have a 3D plus 2, and I'm keeping the same damage here, so it's going to be a 7D, and this is at speeder scale. Now we do have the dual heavy laser cannons, front arc, speeder scale, fire control is going to be 1D, and damage is 6D. So, a little simpler vehicle. Um, like I said, this is something that just seems like it's his own personal air chariot for his Iron Grenadiers. This is where I think we start seeing more splintering of Cobra into Destro, and Serpentor's got his. Cobra Commander's taken over control of his own. We have the Valkyries for the Baroness. Of course, the Crimson Guard has always been there for the Crimson Twins. Um, you get the idea. We actually have more characters for the Dreadnoughts, and as they build up their mercenary force, it's like everybody's getting their own stuff. Dr. Mindbender with all the different Vipers out there, as he does either mind control towards them or generates them however he does. They can always, team up and try and do things, but I think in this era, we could look at it as they're all working in different theaters. And then they'll get together to try and take over something bigger or whatever, and then help each other out. But they're all trying to grab different theaters. So, however you want to work that out to say that, one has got like Asia, and the other one's got Europe, and one South America, and the other, you get the point there. So that's kind of where I'm taking a lot of this. In a game sense, whenever it's the cartoon, they're always all over the place. So I know the cartoon, the comics here, I can't verify for the comics because I really didn't get a lot of the comics. Um, it's just one of those things. I grew up watching the cartoon. That's where my love of GI Joe started from. My parents did not buy much in comics at this point. Like I said, I was in a whole different realm of reality, being in high school at this point. So I didn't really get into it. Although I find myself wanting to get more into it today, and I have in the past few years or whatever, because they've had some really good storylines and all that stuff for GI Joe. So. The writers in that have always kept a very good sense of adding a little bit of reality in there to make it a little believable, which I've always really enjoyed. If we can have just a little bit of reality in on a fantasy realm, it keeps us engaged, and I think it works out really well. So, with that, thank you so very much for joining me. It's wonderful having you stop by. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.